This one's for anyone who's overwhelmed by the number of business opportunities / investment strategies there are to get out of your 9-to-5 and replace your W-2 income. We're talking with a guest today who's tried 5 different things and ultimately came back to wholesaling real estate. If you don't know what wholesaling is, that's what our whole podcast is about. It helps you make $30,000 for finding a rundown house and assigning it to an investor with cash. Ryan, my co-host, has actually done this 425 times since 2019 when he quit his job. Exactly what made you quit your job back then?
Hey man, the one thing that drove me to get out of the 9-to-5 was the inconsistency in pay structure. My pay structure had gotten changed multiple times, and finally I wanted to go out and do something that I had control over how much I got paid.
Beautifully said, and so happy to see you so successful and co-hosting this podcast. My name is David Lecco, and I created a process that's helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states with the software platform called DealMachine in the last 7 years. That is how Ryan and I know each other, because he picked up DealMachine in 2019 to help him on his journey, which I'm so thankful for. And now we're going to hear from our guest, Michael, and hear how he made $5,000 and ultimately came back to wholesaling. So Michael, how much did you make on your first wholesale deal?
Made $5,000 on my first wholesale deal.
Awesome. Great layup to start things off. Now, what motivated you to start wholesaling in the first place?
So that's a great question. At the time, it was actually 8 years ago when I first got into wholesaling, and I'd taken a break and done other businesses and actually found my way coming back to wholesaling because I love it that much. But it was just super attractive to me at the time. I was 22 years old, and it was something that I could get into for very little money down, and I could start generating cash and making money getting into real estate.
Were you ever worried that you were too young for people to take you seriously and think that you could buy their whole house?
Totally. Yeah, I actually, on the first deal I set an appointment for, I remember going up to their house, and I had this big suit that didn't fit me well, and I just looked like a real young kid, and I'm just knocking on the door. I'm like, hey, I'm here to buy your house, and they're kind of looking at me like, are you sure? You can? So it was definitely a limiting belief that I had, but it actually only took me 2 weeks to get my first deal. And so that really built my belief at the time. I was like, wow, I guess people will really do this with me.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, if there's a big need and you're being genuine, that's crazy. Even if you had an ill-fitting suit, they look past that, right? They really needed help.
Totally.
So, well, how did you end up finding that person, by the way, that did sell their house to you?
So back then, that was actually from direct mail that I found that deal. From postcard.
Okay. Who did you end up sending direct mail to? What types of people did you send direct mail to?
So that was an absentee owner list. Yeah.
Got it. And when you say a list, you just went on a software and you said, let me find houses in my zip code. Did you do them in your own zip code, or did you do something else?
Yeah, I was doing in my local market at the time. I didn't really understand how to flip virtually at the time. Now I do nationwide wholesaling virtually. So yeah, I just went on, used the software, pulled a list at the time, which at the time the software I was using was really expensive. So DealMachine's actually been a blessing with the ability to pull lists, skip trace. It saves me a ton of money with the amount of leads I'm able to pull. But yeah, basically back then, went online. I'd taken a course, took a Cody Sperber Clever Investor course, went on, followed the steps, pulled the list, sent the postcards. People started calling me, and it ended up working out. I got that deal.
So, okay, how far ago was that? How long ago was that?
That was 8 years ago, so that was quite some time. I'll be 31 later this month, so definitely a while ago.
And how many? Well, okay, and you also said DealMachine saved you money skip tracing. For those that don't know, that's a term that just means like getting the phone number of the property. So you weren't calling at that time. You were sending direct mail, but now you get the phone numbers and call people?
Yeah, and so I did do a little bit of cold calling back then. And again, yeah, it was insanely expensive to skip trace with the softwares that I was using at that time. DealMachine saved me a ton of money there on skip tracing, pulling phone numbers. So now, yes, I do have a team of cold callers that we're utilizing. So we're pulling the lists, calling the numbers, and yeah, we save a ton of money with DealMachine versus literally everything else out there in the marketplace. I looked at every other software out there and compared them against DealMachine, and DealMachine won for the best value in my mind.
Right. And it's not just cheap, it's a different pricing structure. So we've built it into the monthly fee, and a lot of other people charge like what were you paying, 10 cents per house?
Yeah, 10, 12 cents per contact, yeah.
And how many people would you contact every month, would you say?
I was pulling lists of a couple thousand people, so it was really pricey for me at the time. And it's one of the reasons I actually stepped away from it, which looking back, I wish I'd just stuck with it. But I went and just, went and tried e-commerce and a bunch of other shiny object things because it seemed like it was too expensive at the time for me as a 22-year-old.
Yeah, no, it's definitely expensive. What have you learned in the past 8 years that you wish you would have known when you first started? I mean, it seemed like you did have a great start, so I don't know if there's anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think just stay focused. Like if you make a decision to do something, stay focused on that business. My biggest regret with it was that I didn't stick with it. I went and jumped around and tried a bunch of different things. I wish I had just stuck in with it and just powered through, because like you said, I was able to do deals and the proof of the concept was there. But I just didn't really understand fully how to build a business. I was a one-man show. I was a solopreneur. Now I hire teams. I have people that work with me, and it's a lot more scalable, and I don't have to do everything. So I thought at the time, like, I had to be the cold caller. I had to be taking every call. I had to go to every appointment. I had to be the TC. I had to do everything. And I'm like, man, I just have like transaction coordination. So doing all the transaction coordinating, all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, well, this seems like it's a really high paying job, which, I'm trying to make a lot of money and, be a little bit more passive, which you could have in any business, but you do need to build a team around you. So I think for me, the biggest lesson, if you pick real estate, I would say it is the best industry. That's why I ended up coming back to it after trying. I tried, e-commerce, I tried trucking, I tried solar, I tried, all different types of things. And the road just led me back all the way back to real estate, realizing that this is really the best industry to be in. So I would say for anyone that's making the decision to jump into real estate, just don't quit, stay consistent with it. And just keep pushing through. You're gonna hit the compound effect after a couple of years, and you're gonna get the results you want.
Well, tell me about this, because it's very easy to get shiny object syndrome. Obviously, you went through a period of trying solar, and you said, I think trucking. And what was it about wholesaling that brought you back?
Yeah. So I think what brought me back to wholesaling, again, is that this is a business model that you can operate with pretty low overhead and a small team. I built organizations of more than 350 employees in another business, and we just scaled this massive top-heavy organization. We ended up going out of business, very painful type of stuff, and it becomes so challenging building and scaling and running a massive team, where wholesaling, you could run a team of 10 guys, 12 guys, and you can go do $1 million a month, $2 million a month in wholesale. And then from there, you're going to be able to start to acquire and pick up and own real estate, and you're going to have your best pick at all the best deals. So you're going to be able to start cherry picking deals and ultimately start acquiring. So you're kind of checking all the boxes, because I believe that buying and holding real estate long term is one of the best things that you can do. So wholesale is just a great way to get into the game. It's a great way to generate cash and run a small team with low overhead, and then you can start to buy and acquire and build from there.
Got it. So on the contrary, why did solar and trucking need bigger teams? Actually curious about that. But I do understand the main benefit.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I was running a high ticket done for you business. So we were doing done for you like Amazon FBA stores, done for you trucking. We were building a large solar team. Solar doesn't really need too much, but that was just more of like a door-to-door sales team. And, you know, I think solar is great. I do like solar, but it's a really complex sales process, and it's a really long sales process. And, but yeah, in terms of trucking, like overhead's insane in trucking. You have like, the big payments on the trucks, you have the maintenance, you have the driver payroll, you have insurance, and trucking companies actually run at a really small margin. On the e-com side with, what we're building for distribution and building FBA and running other people's stores, we were running a team of like 250 virtual assistants, and it was just so challenging to manage an offshore team like that. And so, yeah, these things just kind of stacked up. And then like with trucking, recruiting drivers was always a challenge. And, truck drivers are a certain type of employee, which are really tricky to manage. And it just becomes a lot. Honestly, managing people is really challenging, especially as you're learning and growing. You obviously get better at it. But being in my mid-20s at the time, it was a challenge. And then, also was, I was building partnerships at the time and got into some bad partnerships, which I know is something that a lot of people can relate to there. So yeah, I think, again, wholesaling, simplicity, simple business model, and actually it's just marketing and sales at the end of the day. Real estate is just a widget. We're marketing for the motivation. We're marketing to people off market. And then, we're just selling on the acquisition side and disposition side. And it's simple business, high margin, small team. It's beautiful. I love it.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast, because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
That's amazing. I understood also that if you got really good skills at finding good real estate deals, that can be advantage for you because you can build your rental portfolio that way.
Totally.
But trucking and solar panels are not an appreciating asset like real estate is. So you get a little bit more ROI on your skill set on the real estate side.
Cool. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think real estate just has so many benefits. Obviously, as you start to acquire properties, you cash flow them, but also over the long term, like you said, you have the appreciation, then you have the depreciation to write off against your active income. You have the leverage, which you can pull from your equity. The tenants pay down, the notes over time for you. And, there's nothing better in my mind. After, literally, like I said, I've been in business for 12 years. I've invested into a ton of different things, made a bunch of money, lost a bunch of money. And literally after learning all these experiences, all roads have literally led me back to real estate. It's just, it's hard to lose in real estate is one thing that I've seen. My buddies that kind of started in business around the same time as me, about 10, 12 years ago, but they were real estate guys and they just stuck with real estate. These guys are all multimillionaires now. They have massive portfolios, hundreds of doors. They make a ton of money. And I kind of went through this roller coaster ride of, like I said, making millions of dollars, losing millions of dollars, putting money in super high risk things, making money in crypto, losing money in crypto. And it's like, dude, if you just want your money to grow and compound over time, like you're not going to lose out in real estate. It's just, it always goes up in value. I mean, since forever, historically, it always goes up. I mean, you may have, a little bit of this or a little bit of pullbacks, but it's always going to continue appreciating. You're not making any more of it. And it's just a conservative place to put your money. So like I said, building the wholesale shop, building that cash machine and that engine, and then using that engine to go out and acquire doors is really the best formula in my mind. And that's why this is what I'm sticking with for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years of my life, is literally all in on real estate, generate cash, put it into real estate. That's my plan.
Love it. Well, I was going to ask you what your goals were. That pretty much sums it up. How do you balance investing everything that you have aggressively into investments, real estate, versus like enjoying what you're making? Or, do you have, how do you balance that?
Yeah.
I've changed it in different parts of my life. I started out doing everything and now I spend a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. You do need to have the balance. You do need to have the lifestyle. Thankfully, I do have a couple other businesses outside of real estate. So I own a software company as well, and I also own a payment processing company. So those pay me pretty good passively as well. So, I do definitely, take some money and, my girlfriend and I will go out to, the shore, or, we'll go on a trip or whatever. So I think it is important to, not forget that you do need to enjoy life at a certain point too, because if you just take all your money and just constantly invest it, over and over and over again, and you do nothing, you have no fun, you'll get to the end of your life and be like, great, I've got all these chips, I've got all this money, and now I'm about to go into the grave. And that was great. I just stacked up all these chips. So it's like you got to balance the experiences with like the investments. So I think that is a big key, but also as you buy more real estate, it should be paying you passively. So it's like you'll reach a threshold where, you kind of have to look at your individual goals for the listeners and see, okay, well, what is my thermostat? What is my financial thermostat? What do I need to live a good quality of life? And what's going to make me happy? And what are the things that I want to do? And what are the things that I value? And for most people, it's family, it's travel, it's experiences. So you definitely don't want to forget those. That's a really good point that you made.
For sure. Ryan, how would you answer that question? How do you balance investing?
I mean, I feel very much the same way. Like you and Megan and I do a fairly decent job at, probably because of my spending impulses. Like I'm not the one that's going to be a little reserved. Megan's always like, do we really need to go and do that? And I'm like, yes, we do, because we have 3 kids, 1 more on the way, and I don't want to just work myself to death where I leave. I want to enjoy my life too, and I want to enjoy time with them. And to your point, stacking the chips and then dying would be the worst way to go. So it's like, okay, go out, stack the chips, but then go and do stuff. Like enjoy all the hard work that you've put into it. Otherwise, it's fruitless for you now. So I appreciate that. And I probably need to spend a little bit more time focusing on that still, even though I feel like I do a decent job balancing it out. It's still, sometimes a week or two will go by and you're like, wow, I don't even know what I did over the course of the last 2 weeks, because I've spent going on appointments. And what did the kids do this week? I have no idea. I haven't seen them. You get in that trap because we're entrepreneurs and we love to work too. So hopefully, I mean, I know I'm rambling, but hopefully
No, I think that was a great way to end, because that's the whole
good job
that everybody wants to do this, right? Is for one reason or another, do a hobby, have more freedom, have time to spend with their family. So enjoyed hearing both of you guys' answer for that. Mike, it was so great to have you on, man. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, you guys can find me primarily on Instagram at TheMikeSancho at the Mike Sancho. yeah, feel free to reach out to me, shoot me a DM. Happy to help you guys, add value, whatever I can do to the community. But definitely make sure that you guys are utilizing DealMachine to its max. It's an amazing software. Probably my favorite software for real estate investing. So really appreciate what you guys have put together, David and Ryan. And thank you guys so much for adding this value to the real estate community. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying it.
Definitely.
We'll talk to you. When would be a good benchmark to talk to you again? Maybe after you do a certain number of deals?
Yeah. I mean, you guys can hit me 6 months, 12 months, whatever you guys think is good. We're scaling aggressively. So we're looking to hit the 40, 50 plus deals a month mark. So would love to follow up with you guys. Yeah.
Sweet. That'd be amazing. That sounds good. Thank you so much, man.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.